Tonight, a crisis is quietly but steadily unfolding across America's heartland. The vast fields that once symbolized abundance and hope are now at the center of a growing storm, one that threatens not just crops, but entire communities and a way of life that has defined the nation for generations. Fields that once promised prosperity now signal deep economic distress. The soil, once rich and fertile, now cracks under the weight of drought, debt, and uncertainty. For many, the dream of passing the farm down to the next generation is slipping away. This is not a story of a single bad season or a temporary setback. Instead, it is a tale of years of mounting challenges, climate change, trade wars, and shifting global markets that have left American farmers struggling to keep up. It is a story of a systemic decline threatening the very foundation of American agriculture. Grain silos stand empty, and the numbers tell a sobering story. Output is falling, and the future looks increasingly uncertain. Thousands of farming families now face a battle for survival. Each day brings new worries about bills, about whether their children will have a future on the land. In stark contrast, just across the border, a different story is unfolding. We examine a tale of two harvests, one of U.S. decline and another of Canadian growth and renewal. Canada is experiencing an agricultural renaissance. Fields of canola and wheat stretch to the horizon, and exports are soaring to record highs, fueling rural prosperity and national pride. This dramatic divergence raises critical questions about U.S. agricultural policies. Why are American farmers falling behind? And what can be done to reverse the trend? We will explore the data that illustrates the depth of the crisis. U.S. farm income is in freefall, and bankruptcies are rising at an alarming rate, leaving families and entire towns at risk. Meanwhile, Canada's success is measured not just in bushels, but in billions of dollars flowing from agricultural exports, strengthening its economy and rural communities. The crisis has reached the highest levels of government. Former President Trump recently delivered a televised address, acknowledging the severity of the situation and promising action. His response has added a new layer of political urgency to an already dire economic issue, sparking debate and concern across the country. In this chapter, we will analyze his proposals, examine their potential impact, and ask whether they offer real hope for struggling farmers or simply more uncertainty. The future of American farming now hangs in the balance. The decisions made in the coming months will shape not only the fate of individual families, but the destiny of rural America itself. The decline in American agriculture is stark and unambiguous. Once the backbone of the nation's economy and a symbol of prosperity, U.S. farming now faces a crisis that is impossible to ignore. Across the heartland, fields that once thrived with crops now lie fallow, and the hum of farm activity has quieted. Net farm income has fallen by 22% over just 3 years, a dramatic drop that has left many farmers struggling to make ends meet. This decline isn't just a number on a chart. It represents real families and communities grappling with shrinking profits and mounting uncertainty. Chapter 12. Farm bankruptcies are up 30%, a sobering statistic that highlights the financial distress sweeping rural America. For many, generations of hard work are at risk of being lost. The U.S. now faces a projected $10 billion agricultural trade deficit, a reversal from decades of trade surpluses. This deficit signals deeper issues in the competitiveness of American agriculture on the world stage. Declining exports of soybeans, corn, and wheat are key factors. Global competition, shifting trade policies, and tariffs have all contributed to shrinking overseas markets for American crops, leaving farmers with fewer buyers and lower prices. The impact is felt acutely at the local level, with farm equipment auctions now a common sight. Families are forced to sell off machinery just to pay bills, and abandoned equipment rusts in fields that once promised a future. The average farm debt-to-asset ratio is at its highest since the 1980s farm crisis, raising fears of another wave of foreclosures and lost livelihoods. Many farmers are borrowing more just to stay afloat, deepening the cycle of debt. The average age of a U.S. farmer is nearly 60, and fewer young people are entering the profession. This aging workforce raises concerns about the future of farming and the transfer of knowledge to the next generation. The dairy industry in Wisconsin and soybean farmers in Iowa face severe challenges, from volatile prices to rising input costs. Many are being squeezed out, unable to compete with larger agribusinesses or withstand unpredictable weather. California's specialty crop growers struggle with water shortages, as persistent droughts and water restrictions threaten the state's vital fruit, nut, and vegetable production. The effects ripple through local economies and national food supplies. The agricultural sector is hollowing out, threatening the American economy and the rural communities that depend on it. As farms close, small towns lose jobs, schools, and essential services, deepening the rural-urban divide. Fields that once symbolized opportunity and abundance now stand as stark reminders of financial hardship and lost dreams. The landscape of rural America is changing, and not for the better. The era of American dominance in global food trade is being challenged by rising powers and shifting alliances. Other countries are stepping up production, investing in technology, and capturing markets once led by the U.S. The future of U.S. farming is uncertain. Without meaningful change, the decline may accelerate, leaving a legacy of empty fields and forgotten communities. The choices made today will determine whether American agriculture can adapt and thrive once again. While American farmers face a downturn, Canada thrives. Canada's agricultural exports are projected to reach a record $90 billion. This boom spans grains, oilseeds, pulses, and livestock. Canadian farmers benefit from strategic market access and quality reputation. Farm cash receipts and net worth have risen significantly. Investment in technology fuels growth and innovation. The prairies of Saskatchewan and Manitoba lead in canola and lentils. Ontario and Quebec expand in dairy and pork industries. Canada's success is a result of proactive trade policy and investment. The decline of American farming is a complex issue, shaped by a web of interconnected challenges that have intensified over recent years. Once the backbone of the nation's economy, many rural communities now face an uncertain future as farms struggle to survive. Trade disputes, especially the ongoing tensions with China, have disrupted vital supply chains. These conflicts have led to lost export markets for key crops like soybeans and corn, leaving farmers with unsold harvests and mounting financial pressure. At the same time, climate change is bringing more frequent and severe weather events, floods, droughts, and storms that damage crops and livestock. These unpredictable conditions drive up production costs and make planning for the future nearly impossible. Government aid programs, while intended to help, are often inconsistent and fall short of meeting farmers' real needs. Many find the application process confusing or the assistance delayed, leaving them vulnerable during critical times. Policy instability at the federal level further discourages long-term investment. Shifting regulations and uncertainty about future support make it risky for farmers to plan ahead or invest in new technology. On top of this, a strong U.S. dollar makes American exports less competitive abroad, while the costs of essential inputs like fertilizer, fuel, and equipment continue to rise, squeezing already thin profit margins. This cost-price squeeze means that even as expenses climb, crop prices often remain stagnant or fall, threatening the very viability of family farms and small operations. The absence of a clear, coherent agricultural strategy at the national level leaves many farmers feeling abandoned and unheard, fueling frustration and uncertainty across rural America. As a result, the current economic model is proving unsustainable for many. Families are forced to sell off equipment, auction land, or leave farming altogether as profits dwindle and debts mount. These challenges are deeply interconnected and complex, requiring urgent, coordinated action from policymakers, industry leaders, and communities to ensure the survival of American agriculture. The future of American farming stands at a critical juncture. Without meaningful change, the nation risks losing not just its farms, but the rural way of life that has shaped its identity for generations. Canada's agricultural sector capitalizes on U.S. challenges. Canadian farmers increased canola and soybean acreage amid U.S.-China trade friction. Canada's proactive trade agenda secures market access. Agreements like CPTPP and CETA provide competitive advantages. The pulse crop industry in Saskatchewan sees explosive growth. Canadian pork producers expand to meet Asian demand. Canada's success is a story of strategy meeting opportunity. Investment in infrastructure ensures efficient market access. The Canadian brand represents quality and reliability. Canada's approach turns global uncertainty into prosperity. Former President Trump addressed the agricultural crisis. He acknowledged farmers' struggles and criticized current policies. Trump framed the crisis as a threat to national sovereignty. He contrasted the current decline with past agricultural strength. The speech was light on specifics, but heavy on rhetoric. Trump promised a bold new plan to put American farmers first. The address aimed to galvanize support and position himself politically. It injected intensity into the debate over U.S. farming's future. The speech set the stage for a major policy battle. The future of American agriculture is at a crossroads. Trump outlined his America First farming plan. He proposed tariffs to protect domestic agriculture. Trump suggested new tariffs on Canadian products. He advocated for bilateral trade deals over multilateral agreements. A rollback of environmental regulations was proposed. Trump promised to eliminate costly regulations for farmers. A new federal subsidy program, the Patriot Farmer Fund, was introduced. The plan aims to ensure U.S. dominance in key crops. Critics argue it could depress global prices, but supporters see it as necessary. The plan represents protectionism and deregulation as solutions. The future of U.S. farming depends on these proposed changes. U.S. and Canadian agriculture are on opposite paths. The U.S. faces a significant decline, with a projected trade deficit. Factors include trade disputes, extreme weather, and policy instability. American farmers face a severe cost-price squeeze. Canada experiences an agricultural boom with record exports. Strategic trade policy and investment fuel Canada's success. Trump's response proposes protectionism and deregulation. Canada embraces global trade and diversification. The contrast between these strategies is stark. The path chosen will have profound consequences for North American agriculture. North American agriculture stands at a critical juncture. The U.S. grapples with a painful decline while Canada grows. Trump's America First farming agenda rejects globalism. The vision forces a national conversation on trade strategy. Should the U.S. compete globally or create a protective fortress? The stakes are high, with livelihoods and food stability at risk. The future of North American agriculture is uncertain. Will one strategy prove superior, or will the continent be divided? The answer will define the coming decade. The agricultural landscape hangs in the balance.